As I look at collaborative ministry, it seems that we have to shift our thinking from what I just described to something that we're sharing ideas. And so if I want to accomplish something and Norm wants to accomplish something, maybe we can accomplish something together more than each of us probably normally would have. So let's collaborate together. And this book here is called Collaborative Intelligence, meaning do you have the intelligence to be able to collaborate together? That when you and I work together for a common goal, we'll actually accomplish greater things than if we work separately. I want to read to you an illustration here that's called the monkey trap. On an island not so far from here, the local people became very annoyed at the pesky monkeys who lived in the trees surrounding their village and wreaked havoc on their orderly gardens. A clever village elder created a small bamboo cage and placed a banana inside it, then hung it on the edge of his property. Late that afternoon, a monkey reached in and grabbed the banana. When he tried to pull it out between the narrow ribs of the cage, his hand was stuck. All he had to do to get free was release the banana and slide his little hand out. But that evening, when the elder came to check the trap, the monkey was hanging from it, still clutching the banana, even though it meant the loss of his own freedom. And the author continues to write here, many of us are just like that monkey. We grasp onto something that tantalizes us, and even when we realize that before that to be free, we have to let go, we hold on nothing less. We hold on nonetheless. One of the things that most commonly trap us is the habitual pattern of our own thinking, the limiting stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what our capacities are. The authors, I think, the reason why they added that illustration into the book is to say that we get stuck in our own habitual thinking patterns and we're not able to move forward or grasp the thing that we really, really wanted. And when we get stuck in our way of thinking, we actually are trapping ourselves. When we think of moving the church's mission forward, maybe we're stuck in some of the old ways of thinking, in the traditional ways of spreading the gospel. And I go back to this morning's illustration of the paralytic and his 4 friends, that maybe we need to think about things a little bit differently. And in order to accomplish the goal, we need to sit down at tables like this or places like this and start thinking a little bit differently. And not just let's create another thrift store, but how can a thrift store do things differently to accomplish the mission of the gospel? And so don't be afraid to express your ideas and to explore and to experiment. Let's do that together and do it better. And can you imagine if we start doing that as a system of thrift stores? And previously I had started talking about what would a network of thrift stores look like. Well, I want to ask you, what do you think? What would a system of networked thrift stores begin to look like? How would you begin to describe it? What are they doing? Maybe a redistribution of products that actually helps move the product. All right? A product that is popular over here on this side of town is not so popular over here as far as being donated, I think is what you're meaning, that we can equally distribute those so that this other thrift store over here can thrive as well. So what Carolyn is referencing is another nonprofit thrift store in our town, which actually has a bigger square footage footprint and makes thousands of dollars each month. Their manager came over and talked with us and gave us tips, which helped us move forward in our planning and starting a thrift store. And not that our thrift stores are similar, they're actually quite different and for different purposes. They have a space for building material, much like you would see in Habitat for Humanity thrift stores, and so which we do not have in Lewis County. And so we're still able to partner with another thrift store that's just a little bit different in model and in purpose in the community, but does not overlap in what we're really trying to do in the community. If we had a network of thrift stores, we could negotiate fairly for all of them, something that will benefit everybody. And just even talking with another thrift store, that way the thrift store directory would be helpful. Who's in charge of the thrift store? Who are the board members of the thrift store? What are their names? What are their hours of operation? Can we go visit them? If you happen to be on vacation at Ocean Shores, you need to stop by the 3R's thrift store. But did you know that they're only open on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and hopefully here soon on Wednesday? If you're up in Port Townsend, you need to go see the Better Living Center. If you're heading down to Portland, stop by the Relive. Heading up to Canada, stop by Spruce Up Thrift Store. We've utilized work opportunities where people who are being retrained into the workforce, seniors who are being retrained into the workforce, and potentially even DOC, Department of Corrections participants could very well use their time of probation in our thrift stores in an appropriate manner. And for us to be able to communicate those tips, it would be very helpful for everybody. One of the things that we're proposing and here is if each thrift store were to give a storehouse contribution. In religious circles, you would probably call it a tithe, right? A 10% tithe. Washington Conference is discouraging us to say that it's a tithe, and so could we just call it a storehouse contribution? That if 3R's thrift store at the end of their month were to pay all of their bills and to tabulate their profit for that month, to take 10% of that and contribute to the storehouse fund, thrift store storehouse here at the Washington Conference. All right? Same thing with Spruce Up Thrift Store. What if they did that? Fran, you and your thrift store, what if you did that? And then us in Centralia, if we did that. And all of this money every month or every quarter or however often you want to contribute that, if you want to be a part of the association, contributes that storehouse contribution, 10% of your profits. Then what would we do with that at the conference level? Specifically maybe with the thrift store advisory. You would help guide us through how to use those funds. Could we use that to hire a graphics designer to help you in your marketing? Or somebody to help you set up your Facebook page, because not all of you are proficient with Facebook, right? And to be active on social media to get those clients into your store because they saw that great picture of that latest item that came in this morning, and because they saw it on Facebook, it's gone that evening. You see what I'm saying? And so could the Association of Thrift Stores help all of us get to a better spot, maybe in marketing, social media, whatever it may be? What do you think? There's also an organization called National Association of Resale and Thrift Shops. There is in your packet is an abbreviated portion of their handbook. So this is a nationwide organization of resale and thrift shops. To be a part of that organization, you have to pay, right? But if you pay, then you get to go to their national organization, you get to have access to all the information that they have. I mean, these are resale professionals. What if, at the conference level, we designated a representative where the thrift store networks purchased the association fees and sent that representative to represent us and to learn more about resale, to bring it back to the 4 thrift stores in Washington Conference, right? kind of they become a consultant of sorts for the 4 thrift stores as to what they learned at that organization. NARTS is what they affectionately call it. What if at the thrift store network, at the advisory, we purchased books to help you do your business plan, or build a library of resources here at the conference office where you can come and check out that resource so that you can learn how to take care of your volunteers better, or to learn how to do your finances better, or to do your thrift store boards better, whatever it may be. What if the storehouse funds were to help plant the next thrift store? What do you think? Is that a possibility? What if the thrift store funds here at the conference office were to help the 3 Rs with their remodeling project because you need some remodeling done? That type of thing. Or if you have a problem with storage, right? Because we all have problems with storage. You don't necessarily have enough room for all of the things that you would want to store. That maybe at the conference level we can help with some seed money, or maybe with all of the money, to purchase a metal container if you had a place to put that metal container for storage. Right? I know that Spruced Up Thrift Store is really tight for storage. They have some storage underneath the school, but that's in a flood zone. Right? But what if the network of thrift stores were to help them purchase a metal storage container that they had available to them? Because storage helps. It helps the process of a thrift ministry.
Maybe even a flatbed.
Maybe even a truck.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe it wouldn't even be purchase it, but do the research to negotiate what are reasonable prices, and maybe a preferred vendor for that. That we just rented a container this past week. I think I got a good deal on it, but I don't know.
Yeah. You know, Norm, that's a very interesting thing. Linda Van Pembroke was here. She had to slip out. She did research on pods.
Yeah, pods.com.
And she talked with a representative there, and what she found out is because if you are a charitable organization, nonprofit, they're willing to just give you the pod for several months. It's not indefinite, but maybe even for a season, maybe for the Christmas season or the summer season. And that helps them in their advertisement, but because, you know, as a company, they need to give back to the community as well. Why not let nonprofits use their pods for the benefit of your thrift ministry? So, I mean, you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't have come here today. Mike?
There's also, you know, in your local areas, contractors and whatnot, and they have that kind of stuff that possibly they don't need, you know, so it might be sitting around their place just rotting, and they'd love to give it to you. But unless we have an outlet and work together, then we won't know about that stuff.
Thank you, Mike. And so here's the complete handbook for NARTS, if you want to take a look at that up here. We had contacted the thrift store in Loma Linda. One of the young adult Sabbath school classes a few years back wanted to start their own thrift store. They did. They put together their own business plan, and I have copies of those up here if you want to just take a look at that as a model of a business plan. It's a little bit intimidating, just to warn you. Back in 2005, Byron Doolin, our own Byron Doolin, put together a proposal for a thrift store ministry. When he wrote that in 2005, and here we are in 2016, I think we can call him a prophet. But here's his take on thrift store ministry, and I have several copies of this up here as well, if you want to take a look at that. These are great resources to take a look at, to process on your own, to process with other people who may be interested in thrift ministry, and just see where the Lord will take you. Again, I moved to Centralia in 2011, and here we are in 2016. We opened several months ago in 2016. It's a process. But it's a process that you want to make sure that you're following God's leading, and it's not just your own agenda, right? And you've got to be able to find those people, recruit those people who are willing to catch the vision, like Carolyn and Joey, and Kay is working at the thrift store right now down in Centralia. It's a long process, but can you imagine the impact across Washington Conference? And as much as I like our thrift store in Centralia, I really want more thrift stores, because that means that the church is wanting to do more for their community instead of being an insular entity in our communities. So I hope you're starting to catch the vision for thrift ministry. I hope that today is helpful for you, hopefully not too overwhelming, and let's just continue the conversation. I know several of you are hoping and wanting to start a thrift store, maybe with your church or maybe partner with another church. Let's explore those ideas. Let's go visit Sunbridge. Let's go to PAX. Let's go to our existing thrift stores and continue to see where God is leading. And let's work together to finish the work here in Western Washington.